Today we're going to make a tent peg from a tent peg. So as part of the SHEDWARS21 collaboration, they occasionally have these things called Gladiator challenges, and the latest one from the Southern Hemisphere mob has been to make something or using craft or whatever. Now our resident blacksmith in the Southern Hemisphere is a bloke called Darren, but he started this off, so he's recused himself. So in lieu of him, this wannabe blacksmith here is going to give it a go. Now I mentioned we're going to make a tent peg, pretty exciting stuff, from this tent peg. Now you might ask, why bother? You've already got a tent peg. Well, firstly, this one's too long. Secondly, it's good. This is a store-bought one. It's got a chisel tip on it there. I hope you can see that. And it's not hardened, so that's not very clever, and it tends to skew sideways, which doesn't normally matter, but it's a bit annoying. The other end is probably all right. I could just keep that, but in the spirit of things, I'll make that as well. So to do that, I'm going to cut both ends off. We'll make a start at that. I suppose you could argue if you're going to do that, just go and get a bit of round bar. Well, good point, but I don't want this anymore, so I might as well use it, eh? So let's make a start by cutting the ends off. So there's our tent peg. There's now just a bit of 10mm round bar. We'll get the fire going and start bashing things. So this section of the workshop is supposed to be a power-free zone, and basically set in period 1800s. There's nothing modern in here. So in the spirit of that, I only use genuine organic period diesel to start the fire. Right, well, we'll start by making that hook on the end by just bending this in the britchel hole. The reason I'm doing that in first is, you see I had to bash that with the point down there. If I'd already done the point, I probably would have just blunted that. Right, we'll see if we can complete this. Not quite as straight as I'd like, a bit of a curve there, but I'm only a beginner. I reckon that'll do. Right, I'll have to cool that down so I can grab hold of that end, and we'll work on the point. Right, well now we'll work on the point. I actually want a square point, but as I remember correctly, you do the taper first, and then you make it square. Or maybe it was the other way around, I can't remember now. Right, I've done a few heats off camera. That's about as sharp as it needs to be, I think. I think that'll do sharpness wise. Now I might just try and make it a bit squarer. Well, that's fairly square, probably square enough. I'll just sort of round off that very end a little bit. Like I said, you don't want to be too sharp. I reckon that'll do us. And that's still soft metal, of course. It needs to be hardened, so that's the next thing to do. I'll just straighten that up a little bit too. Okay, we'll get on to the hardening now. Right, now to harden this, we heat it back up to a certain temperature and then quench it. Probably should use oil, I'm not actually sure, but all I've got at the moment is some water, so that'll have to do. Just want to harden the very end there, so we'll get that back up to a good heat. You can tell this is not hard at the moment. If you run a file across it, it bites into it. When this is hardened, that should just skate across, so we'll find out in a minute, eh? Right, I'll put it back in the fire and we'll give it a go. Oh, it's probably more than hot enough, I think. I'll give it a second to cool down. It's probably a bit too hot, I think. Oh, it's getting hot to hang on to too. Alright, here we go. Yeah, that skates across there nicely now. So, oh, it's getting hot to hang on to in this end too. I think that'll do us for now. I'll just cool it down and get back to you. Right, well here's our new tent peg. Looks pretty much the same as the old one, but it does have a hardened and sharp tip, sharpish. A little bit too much of a bend there, but what can I say? You get that on these big jobs. And I don't know if I hardened it correctly. Probably should have used oil. Probably didn't have the right temperature. Like I said, I'm a bit of a newbie at this, although I have been doing a few things over the years. So that's my entry into the Shedwars Gladiator challenge, for what it's worth. Grey Nomad out. 2, 3.